Hello, members of the Hornet Nation. It is great to visit with you this afternoon about what's been going on as we've opened our doors this fall and have had really a great start to the fall semester. Of course, so much of the planning for the fall semester and so much of our activity this fall seems to revolve around COVID. And so this afternoon is a bit of an opportunity for me and some others to give you an update on some of what's been going on and to answer some questions. For the last day and a half, I have been up at KBOR meetings, Board of Regents meetings in Topeka. And as I visit with the individuals representing other universities in the KBOR system, I am just incredibly grateful for the hard work that all of our students, faculty, and staff have done to start us off well during this fall semester. In fact, as I talk to other individuals with other universities and hear about the challenges that they have faced with potentially high numbers of COVID on their campuses, it just makes me incredibly grateful for the spirit with which Emporia State people have taken seriously the advice about wearing masks and social distancing and being very, very careful. One of the schools in the system, which is very much like Emporia State in terms of size, has been dealing with hundreds of students in quarantine. And we have been so fortunate that here at Emporia State, because of the prudent behaviors of students, faculty, and staff, we have not had to deal with that. And so I extend my thanks to you for the great way that we have started this semester. I also want to begin by thanking just a few other individuals, and I won't try to cover the waterfront, but I wanted to mention a few specific groups. And let me start by thanking those who work in our campus health center. You know, they are doing a phenomenal job of dealing not only with normal seasonal issues that our students may present with, but also dealing with COVID testing. And they are doing a great job. In fact, in addition to doing all of that work, they just recently were baking cookies for some of the people that they were testing and really have gone above and beyond and demonstrate the caring nature of this campus. It makes me smile every time I drive past the front of campus when our marching band is out practicing. And although we won't be playing football this fall, it feels like fall with the sounds of the band. And I know that community members probably feel the same way. And so thank you to all of the members of our band who bring joy to the campus and to the community through what you do. Thanks also to our faculty and our staff and our students. All of you have shown remarkable adaptability as we have started a fall unlike any other in Emporia State's history. I also want to give a shout out to our student government leadership, to Braden and to Amaya for their work to help engage our student body in being mindful about the importance of mask wearing and for encouraging all of our students to wear their masks. We are so grateful. And then finally, let me say thank you to the members of our fall planning group. We have a group of about 20 individuals drawn from key governance groups and key areas around campus who have been very active in planning for a great start to the fall semester. And of course, we're beginning to reach the point in time when we're also looking ahead to the spring semester. You know, as we started this fall semester, one question that I field frequently from donors and people in the community, people at the Board of Regents or with the legislature is, how many of your classes moved online? And the answer is not as many as you might have thought. Emporia State, when we look at the group of classes that were originally scheduled to be face-to-face classes for this fall, 74% of those have remained face-to-face classes. 20% of those classes moved to a hybrid model. And so it might be that if it's a Tuesday, Thursday class, for example, I'm in the Tuesday class in person and I watch on my computer on Thursdays, and someone else is doing the exact opposite in order to keep the numbers down in the physical classroom. And then 6% of our classes moved entirely online. And so we've had a really nice start to the fall semester. As we began our fall semester, one of the things that has been crucial is Emporia State's ability to do testing. And I wanted to visit with you for just a moment to share a little bit of what's been happening, and then I'll pass the baton over to Jim Williams, who will share a little bit about some of our future plans with respect to testing. But as you may recall, before our semester began, we shared the news that we had received very late in July, the news that we had received state funding to conduct mass testing before the semester began. And I want to say thank you to all of you who participated in that. Our positivity rate from the mass testing came back at less than 1%, which is phenomenal, and really kind of surprisingly low. So we're very, very pleased. Obviously, anyone who tested positive from that initial testing was also provided with information about how to seek an academic accommodation or a work accommodation or adjustment. The second kind of testing that we've been doing, and this has been through our health center, is symptomatic testing. And so we've been conducting symptomatic tests for students who contact the health center. Please do contact them before you just wander in. If you go to their website, you'll see information about how to schedule a COVID test. But we've been conducting symptomatic testing for students. And I'm so grateful to our team in the health center. They put in some very long hours, but they've been very good about testing individuals who say, you know, I don't feel so good. I don't know why that is. Of course, we're also in seasonal allergy time of the year. And before long, we'll be in flu season as well. So there are other things going on. But our health center has done a phenomenal job with that symptomatic testing. A third kind of testing has been testing of our student athletes. Our student athletes began to do some face-to-face conditioning and practice activities, and we tested all of them before that began. And one of the other things that we're doing as a matter of good practice throughout the semester is testing 25% of each team every other week. That's something that the NCAA has recommended for athletic groups that are actually in competition, but we think it's a good practice, and it really helps Emporia State stay on top of whether we have COVID beginning in some of our student athlete groups. And then a fourth group that we have tested has been our student teachers. Those of you who are engaged in student teaching before you began in your classrooms were tested for COVID through our health center. And so we're grateful to all of those who have been tested and to all of those who have participated in organizing the testing and doing the testing. That is a huge amount of administrative work, but I think it's very important for Emporia State. I'm going to pass the baton, as I mentioned, over to Jim Williams now, who will talk about our plans for some of the testing that will occur during the rest of the semester. Jim.
Well, thank you, President. As we announced yesterday, we are going to begin an on-campus student surveillance testing program. We have been working with the Department of Biology, and their expertise in this have secured the tests. And so later on tomorrow, a message will go out to the first group of students that have been randomly selected from a scientific-based operation to participate in surveillance testing. We're hoping to get between 350 and 450 students. We've identified the 16th and 17th of September. We will be in the Skyline room. Students will be instructed to answer some questions if they're interested in participating, as well as schedule a time. It's about a 15-minute time frame that they will come over to the Skyline, check in, and then they will have assistance in administering the test. It's the same testing protocol that we used prior to arrival, so it's the same process with the same kit. We've identified 4 dates this semester, or excuse me, 3 different dates this semester, the 16th and 17th of September, the 7th and 8th of October, and the 28th and 29th of October. And our hope is that this will continue to give us a surveillance pattern of the way COVID is impacting the campus. We're going to continue to do our athletic testing, as the president mentioned. That'll be every 2 weeks. And that's about 120 student athletes at each time frame. And then obviously we will continue our symptomatic testing through the health center and such. So a number of different components are going on. We've had a lot of questions about how this data will show. I'd encourage you to keep an eye on the dashboard indicators that we have. The first block of 2 lines is testing that's happening in the health center. So if I recap what we have had since Friday of last week, we have tested 95 symptomatic students, had 21 positive tests and 74 negative tests. We have tested in the categories that the president has mentioned already between student teachers and student athletes. So far, we have tested 177 students and had 14 positive tests. Those have all generally been asymptomatic. And so those students did not know that they were in contact with COVID. That's the number you'll see the large group testing go in. So you'll see that number climb rather fast. And then for a total for the campus, we've tested 272 students and have identified 35 positive cases. We are working with the county health department to better get a active case number, because we know at this point, given the fact that that's 35 cases since August 17th, that does only account for the positive tests. It does not have removed from it those that are, quote, active cases as of now. So we're hoping to add that to our dashboard and solidify that. One reminder I would like to put out there: the health center has structured their days now so that if there's general concerns with allergy, sickness, etc., those are appointments that we're looking at for the morning. And then all the afternoon appointments have now been reserved for COVID-related symptomatic testing. So again, we can practice some social distancing between those students that may feel they're symptomatic and a student that may be there for a prescription refill or something of that nature. As always, we are practicing the need to make an appointment, and that's very simple. Call 341-5222, and the staff will walk you through what you need to do and how do you need to arrive and work through that process. But again, I also echo my thanks to the health center staff who is going well above and beyond in managing this as we continue the campus moving forward.
Good. Thank you, Jim. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Hine in Marketing and Media Relations. I'm going to help moderate the rest of the call today. The questions that we're going to be taking today are primarily COVID related. I did want to take some time to let you guys know who all is on the call, so you can be thinking about that as you're thinking of questions. Dr. Williams, Vice President Student Affairs, Dr. Shelley Gerke, Vice Assistant Provost, VP of Enrollment Management and Student Success, Diana Kuhlman, our CFO, President Garrett, Provost David Cordell, Brenda Kerner representing faculty, Shane Shively with the Foundation and Alumni, Corey Faldine with IT, Ray Lauber with HR. So we've got a cast of characters, and I saw Kent was on earlier, but he might have had to jump off, it looks like. So
Kent is still with us.
Okay, he is?
Yes.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Kent. Okay, so we've got Kent, Athletic Director. So we've had a few questions that have come in already. So we'll start there. And then as you guys, if the audience has more questions, go to emporia.edu/live and click the submit a question, and those will populate to us and we can ask it of the team here. So to start, we've had several questions. So I'm going to lump them all together related to what is the number or what is the threshold that would send campus back to being completely online. I'm going to send that one to Dr. Cordell to answer that for us.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Good afternoon, everyone. The first thing that I would point out is that as much as we would like to have one simple number that would tell us exactly what we should do, there really is more than one factor that would come into play as we consider changing what we're doing right now. For example, there's the number of new cases, there's the number of active cases, percent of the tests that are positive, and there are others as well, some of which have to do not just with the ESU campus, but the conditions in the surrounding community. So I think it's the best way to think about it is that it would be several different factors and the way they interact that would influence any change in what we're doing. So as much as I'd like to tell you there's a single number and simply give you that number, there is none.
Good, thank you very much. Next question. I'm gonna read this here. As a result of positive tests and others that have been close contacts, I'm without a TA in a lab class, performing experiments for students while teaching another lab class so they don't fall behind. Dealing with these situations and others is incredibly stressful. On top of that, the academic adjustment forms we are given state that the alternative delivery method should not impact academic delivery of the course. It feels like administration might not appreciate what it's like to be boots on the ground in this time. Dr. Cordell, if you would like to take that one.
I'll do my best. One thing that I think we know quite well is that there's not a faculty member at ESU whose workload has not increased considerably because of the pandemic. We're very much aware of that. And just as the questioner points out, when you rely on a teaching assistant and the teaching assistant's not there anymore, that's one more increase in workload. This question does actually signal to me, however, that we might need to make an adjustment in the language that we use on that academic adjustment form that goes out, because I'm hearing that that's being interpreted in a way that I don't think we meant. What the language says right now is the alternate delivery method should not impact the academic integrity of the course. That wasn't the best wording, and I think we need to adjust that. What we intended to communicate is that this is not a request for you to lower your expectations for students or to compromise your standards. So we could have said that a little bit better, and I'll talk with Dr. Gurke about maybe making that adjustment.
We have a couple of questions about quarantine housing, so I'm going to point these to you, Jim. What is the capacity of isolation quarantine housing? Is it available to all students? Are students using it? Or are they doing it at campus or at home? Is the planning group considering the public health consequences of students returning home if we need to shut down in-person classes?
Okay, so I think there's two questions there. The first one is on quarantine housing. There are roughly 78 to 80 spaces available. They are single rooms for students who are in on-campus housing. We are finding at any given time there might be one or two, maybe three students that are using that for quarantine and or isolation housing in the hall system. There are several others that are taking advantage of going home for a 2-week period or isolating off campus. Students that are working with the Lyon County Health Department who do live off campus are being asked if they're able to isolate in their off-campus locations. If they are not, we do have the ability, and the students are offered the opportunity to isolate in the housing that Lyon County has secured which I believe is in one of the local hotels with the food service program there. To my knowledge, just the other day talking with our emergency manager, I do not believe that any students have taken advantage of that. But if they are in a situation where they need to isolate or quarantine and don't feel comfortable doing it in their off-campus residence, they do have that opportunity. And again, it comes at no expense to the student, and can take advantage of that. And so from a capacity standpoint, I think we're right now monitoring that. That's actually one of our factors that we would look at. But that's kind of the numbers and where those numbers stands. And then they are all private rooms here on campus, obviously, for the disease management. The second question, if I remember correctly, was...
Is the planning group considering the public health consequences if students returning home if we need to shut down in-person classes?
Absolutely, and that is one of the factors too, is to does shutdown mean shut down in place and instruct online? And that's one of the measures that we would look at. Does shutdown mean completely shut down, or does that mean just for 2-week or 3-week period until the situation is again reassessed? But we are very conscious of the fact of what does it mean if we shut down and those students do leave the area. We just experienced some of that over the 3-day weekend, and did have a number of students who made the decision to stay here because they just were not sure if they wanted to go back home and if they had been exposed or such. So yeah, that is a big consideration.
Thank you. I'll remind everyone, if you would like to submit a question, to go to emporia.edu/live to submit a question. We are getting a few questions on our form for Coffee with Cops, which is coming up at 4 o'clock. But if anyone else has a question related to COVID, please put that on the form. So this last one, Jim, before you get too comfortable, similar to kind of what you were talking about, it did ask if the classes are moved completely online, will the residence halls be shut down?
That's a great question. And I guess the simple answer is that is not a guarantee that the residence halls would be shut down. Again, not knowing what a time frame would be. If we decided we needed to be remote for 2 or 3 weeks, I would say that we probably would not shut down the residence halls. But again, we would provide a number of situations that provide that safe environment for those students so they could shelter in place. I know that as I've spoken with my colleagues across the system, several of them are not even going to consider shutting down the residence halls if they do move the rest of the semester online. In a way, we want to make sure that our students have that opportunity to be here with the technology, to learn, to participate in that remote learning environment. And if you think about it, we have 600 or so students that live in the residence halls, and we have several thousand that live off campus in apartments. And us shutting down doesn't necessarily mean those students are all going to leave the community as well. Many of them have rents that they're not going to be able to get out of, et cetera. And so the concept of shutting down has a lot of ramifications. And no, there is not an immediate decision that's been made that if we shut down, the residence halls will close as well.
Thank you very much. I don't want to hop off right away. We don't have any more questions that have been submitted. So I'll talk really slow as we close up here in case someone has something that they want to get in before we close the call for today. We will be having these calls every other week, Thursdays, 3 o'clock. So people have the opportunity to ask questions. The leadership team is available to you to answer those questions or concerns that you might have. So this is really the opportunity. I thank you very much for joining today. It'll always be at emporia.edu/live. So we look forward to hearing from you all again. Pre-submit questions anytime. There is a form on the emporia.edu/return to campus website. So you can submit your questions between these, and we'll either pile them or get back with you before the next call. And those are basically our updates. Does anyone on the team have anything they would like to say before we close for today?
Kelly, I do have a little bit that I'd like to share with the group as we begin to close, I mentioned earlier as we began today's call that the fall planning group was starting the process of looking forward toward the spring semester. And so I would invite each of you, if you are aware of issues or concerns that the fall planning group needs to address, to please share those issues or concerns either with the individual who's responsible for your shared governance group or up through the line with your vice president, to make sure that those issues are elevated so that the fall planning group can consider all of the things that we need to be talking about. One other topic that I wanted to mention is that our Associated Student Government is in the process of surveying students who would have graduated in May or who were planning to graduate in December regarding what December commencement will look like. I also wanted to mention that one of the things I believe is true is that we had students who were thinking about starting college in the fall, but who decided that they just wanted to wait until maybe there was a little more certainty around college for them. And so what that may mean is that we may have some students who are coming in January. And so I would invite all of you who are faculty or staff members to continue partnering closely with our admissions team to help those students as they transition into a college experience. We've had some interest in how to report concerns about non-compliance with the Emporia State Mass Policy. And so I just wanted to remind people of that as well. If you see someone who is not wearing a mask and not social distancing, please do kindly remind them of our policy here on campus. But if they don't put a mask on, if they are a student, you may report them in through Dr. Jim Williams in Student Life. And if they are a faculty or staff member, you may report them in through Human Resources. And then finally, I just wanted to conclude with a sign I saw over the weekend. I was out running around, of course, wearing my mask, and I saw a sign that just made me grin. It said, "Spread kindness, not germs." And that resonated with me. Let's all make it our goal through the coming weeks to spread some kindness to those with whom we come in contact every day. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate all of you for what you do to make Emporia State such a special place.
Question.
Oh.
One late breaking, sorry.
Oh, no.
ASG sent a question about graduation. Has there been that discussion among administration yet?
Certainly, and as I mentioned, ASG is actually in the process of soliciting survey responses from those who would be impacted by that decision. So there's no decision yet, and that will be influenced by the feedback that we receive from our students.
Thank you. That is all.
Okay. Well, thank you all. We appreciate it so much.